Secretary of War Pete Hegseth hosted a Christmas service in the courtyard of the Pentagon's massive complex. And the program included remarks from the Secretary, along with Reverend Franklin Graham, and it was explicitly billed as a service celebrating Christmas. Wow, what a change from the Biden administration. Earlier this week, Secretary Hegseth also announced some major changes to the War Department's chaplain program. Well, what are the changes, and what are they going to mean going forward for the thousands upon thousands of Christian men and women in uniform? Well, now here to unpack that and more is Chris Motz. He's a senior counsel at First Liberty Institute. Chris, welcome to Washington Watch. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Jody. Pleasure to be with you.
Okay, first of all, if you would remind us of some of the religious freedom violations that we'd seen under the Obama and Biden administrations when it came to military chaplains. I know First Liberty Institute was instrumental in many of those cases.
Yeah, that's right. Religious freedom in the military obviously isn't a partisan issue. It's a constitutional one. But unfortunately, we've seen different administrations take very different approaches. COVID was a very difficult time for religious freedom in the military. We saw tens of thousands of troops leave the military during that time. Religious accommodation requests were rejected en masse, effectively none of them granted, while at the same time we saw medical and other administrative exemptions granted, clear religious bias. We've also seen in the past suppression and censorship of chaplains, reprimanded, censored for preaching biblical truth. And First Liberty has been really honored to step in and defend those chaplains and those service members over the years.
Yes, you brought a couple of them. My time in Congress dealt with both of those issues. I know we were covered up during the COVID era with complaints and just absolute religious liberties being trampled upon by our men and women in uniform. Why do you think that took place? What was the message that the previous administration was trying to send?
Well, they're really sending a message that faith and religious freedom were subordinate to critical theories that sort of reigned supreme as political ideologies. We saw these DEI struggle sessions and sort of the punishment of any sort of religious dissent, that it was intended to send a clear message. If you stand up for your faith, we're going to come after you. It will be very painful. And that had a real chilling effect. People began asking questions like, is it safe? Am I going to get in trouble if I'm living my faith and, public as a Christian or a person of faith? So it's very encouraging to see that shift.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a shift of night and day right now. And I know recruiting is up, and many of those men and women, some of them have come back because the change that's taken place. So that's a good segue to just asking your overall assessment of Secretary Hegseth's changes that he's making. Let's start with the chaplaincy.
Well, it's wonderful to see, to see his message earlier this week. I mean, he highlighted this Army Spiritual Fitness Guide, 112-page document, supposedly focused on spiritual fitness, but in all these, thousands and thousands of words, 112 pages, mentions God only but once. That's kind of shocking to see. So for him to very clearly just say, I'm rescinding this, we're going to go back to where faith is honored and cherished. We're not afraid to speak the name of God. That's a really, really encouraging thing, and is indicative of good things to come, I think.
Do we know what some of those specific policy changes will be? What will it look like?
Well, kind of relatedly, actually, President Trump's Religious Liberty Commission just met last week in Dallas. And in that meeting, they specifically looked at religious freedom in the military. They're going to be making some recommendations to the president that we're really excited to see. We know the whole administration has been very strong on religious freedom. It's not just tolerated, it's actually cherished as a source of strength for our armed forces. That's really great. One thing that we're excited about in the next year is a bill that's circulating right now, the Military Chaplain Act, being sponsored by Representative Self of Texas. Looks strongly positioned to be included in the National Defense Authorization Act next year, something that would elevate conscience protections for military chaplains and would give them a stronger position, a stronger footing as really religious and spiritual advisors to the commanders and in their service to the troops.
Congressman Self is a great leader. He's on the program with us frequently. I'm glad to see him leading on that issue. Are there some other policy recommendations that you would suggest to possibly enhance these protections that we're seeing come about?
Yeah, and this is something that we know the administration is doing. They're giving very clear guidance to commanders that religious accommodations need to be given. When a troop makes a request for a religious accommodation, maybe a change of work schedule so that they can attend Sunday worship, all sorts of different requests that come to a commander's desk. Commanders need to be empowered to affirm their troops' faith, recognizing that it is a source of strength. It makes them a better troop to be able to live their faith fully. So changes like that are really positive. We're very encouraged to see them. And we do think there's more coming.
So your overall thoughts, and more coming, that's great to hear. Your overall thoughts on how Secretary Hegseth has promoted the role of faith throughout the whole Pentagon.
Yeah, the worship services that he's done is very striking. There's been a kind of a general sense in the last number of years that we need to take care not to offend anybody. In legal terms, we talk about the so-called heckler's veto. Under an old, outdated case law, one person that was offended, the heckler, could kind of veto the whole thing. Well, that's no more. It's never been the case in the military. There's always been a tradition of having chaplains. But what we're seeing with Secretary Hegseth leading the way in bringing faith kind of back into the Pentagon, kind of really elevating the role of chaplains as not as social workers, or as he put it, emotional support officers, but as men of God, leading troops, pastoring their souls. It's really encouraging to see, and I think it's going to help a lot of those chaplains be really free to leave their faith. Very good.
Chris Motz, Senior Counsel at First Liberty, thank you for joining us.